welcome to this Woman Wednesday edition of Liquid Lunch on Newsmax TV. I'm John TABACCO. We're coming to you today from the Question Tequila Studios in downtown Manhattan, and we have a blockbuster of a show for you today. We're going to get into all the stuff in the recently declassified conversations between the two presidents of the U.S. and Ukraine, and just downtown, the Dow Jones is having a nice morning, up about 120 points. Seemingly, people are reading this already and saying this is just another batch of fake news. We're going to impeach the president over a conversation. Here's the convo, folks. We're going to give it all to you today, that's for sure. The market's like what they're reading here. And Bitcoin, as I told you, I thought there might be a buying opportunity about a week back at 9,800. And Bitcoin is under siege, folks. It's 8,300, so down about 1,500 points in the last week, which is a big move. And from here, as I've been telling you, there could be a trapdoor to 8,500, and that could be down to 4,000. So be careful. You're invested in it for the long term. You may want to look at buying more and averaging your price at 85, and maybe buying more at 4,000. But be prepared at all times to lose every single penny you invest in cryptocurrency. And we're going to have on famed social media influencer and expert, Litecoin Lisa, a little later in the show to tell you everything that's going on in the crypto world and everything that's going on in the rest of the world. My partner, managing editor of Liquid Lunch, Frank Morano, is going to fill us in on that stuff.
That's right. Obviously, John, the big story has to do with the story we broke on this program yesterday, even before it happened. Yes, that's right. Just about 24 hours ago, I told you that, according to Axios, Nancy Pelosi was telling friends that she didn't want to go forward with impeachment, but she was prepared to do so. Right after we got off the air, that's precisely what she did. Let's have a look at the Speaker of the House yesterday.
The president must be held accountable. No one is above the law. Getting back to our founders, in the darkest days of the American Revolution, Thomas Paine wrote, "The times have found us. The times found them to fight for and establish our democracy. The times have found us today."
Well, it just so happens, John, that today there's even more breaking news with President Trump making the decision to release the transcript of his conversation with the president of Ukraine, Volodomir Zelensky. Now, for those of you that have a difficult time following the story, congratulations, because that probably means you have a brain. This is a tough story to follow, because up until now, it's been based on a conversation that nobody has seen nor heard. It's based on a whistleblower complaint that nobody has read from a whistleblower that no one knows the identity of. But in a nutshell, as I understand it, the allegation or the concern is that President Trump abused his office, which is that he tried to exercise influence over the president of Ukraine. Specifically, he sort of dangled the lure of American foreign aid if they would reopen an investigation into Joe Biden's son, Hunter, who was on the board of an energy company in Ukraine that was doing business in Ukraine at the time. So I thought, John, what might work is, rather than you give your spin, me give my spin, the guests have their spin, we don't have audio of this phone call between the two presidents.
That's right.
We do have this newly declassified, hot off the presses transcript, freshly printed by Nico Romano. I thought it might serve the viewers well if we actually just read ourselves the portion of the transcript that is apparently so controversial.
I like that idea. And, well, who's going to get to play Trump?
It's up to you. It's your show, John.
You plotted it out. You're the producer, the managing editor. You already have a plan here. I have my pen. Who do you want to be? I think that's a good idea. And for those of you watching at home, whoever you like as president, whatever you vote for, it doesn't matter. Listen to this conversation right now between the president of Ukraine and President Trump, and just tell me if you hear anything that's impeachable. You decide for yourself.
All right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be Volodymyr Zelensky, President Zelensky, not only because do I think the fact that he never held elective office before and was able to get elected at an incredibly young age is really inspirational to people that are trying to drain the swamp internationally. But nobody in our audience knows what Zelensky sounds like. So if I'm not doing a good job, no one will know.
You got to be Trump. This is
See,
your idea.
I said that.
You got to be Trump.
So now you know the pressure's going to be on.
You trump it. All right, here we go.
Okay. So we're not going to.
This is the official verbatim transcript as dictated by people who were in the Situation Room, and this is out as unclassified, redacted, secret information.
That's right. So I am going to be Trump, even though I prepared for the Russian. So the Ukrainian. Keep that in mind.
Let's do it.
Keep that in mind if this Trump is a little lackluster.
I am Russian.
Yeah.
Ukrainian.
Right. So they're having a conversation. This is just a portion of the conversation. I would like you to do us a favor, though, because our country has been through a lot, and Ukraine knows a lot about this. I would like you to find out what happened with this whole situation with Ukraine. They say CrowdStrike, I guess. You have one of your wealthy people, the server, they say Ukraine has it. There are a lot of things that went on, the whole situation. I think you're surrounding yourself with some of the same people, quite frankly. I would like to have the Attorney General call you or your people. I would like you to get to the bottom of it. As you saw yesterday, that whole nonsense ended with a very poor performance by a man named Robert Mueller, an incompetent performance if you really want to know the truth. But they say a lot of it started with Ukraine. Whatever you can do, it's very important that you do it if that's possible.
Oh, yes. It is very important to me. Everything they just mentioned is important to me earlier. For me as a president, it's very important. We're open for any future cooperation. We're ready to open a new page on cooperation and relations with the U.S. For that purpose, I just recalled our ambassador from the United States who will be replaced by a very competent, very experienced ambassador who will work hard to making sure our two nations are getting closer. I would also like to hope and see him have your trust and confidence and have personal relations with you so we can cooperate even more. I will tell you that one of my assistants spoke with Mr. Giuliani just recently, and we are hoping very much that he will travel to Ukraine and meet once he comes to Ukraine. I just want to assure you once again, you have nobody but friends around us, Mr. President. I will make sure. I also wanted to tell you that we are friends, we are great friends, and you can continue our strategic partnership. I also plan to surround myself with great people. In addition to that investigation, I guarantee, as the president of Ukraine, that all investigations will be done open and candidly. That I can assure you.
Good, because I heard you had a prosecutor who was very good, and he was shut down. And that's really unfair. A lot of people are talking about that. The way they shut your very good prosecutor down, and you had some very bad people involved. Mr. Giuliani is a highly respected man. He was the mayor of New York City, a great mayor, and I would like him to call you. I'll ask him to call you along with the Attorney General. Rudy very much knows what's going on, and he's a very capable guy. If you could speak to him, that would be great. The former ambassador from the United States, the woman, she was bad news. And the people she was dealing with in the Ukraine were bad news. So I just want to let you know that. The other thing, there's a lot of talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. Biden went around bragging that he stopped the prosecution. So if you can look into it, it sounds horrible to me.
I wanted to tell you about this prosecutor. First of all, I understand and I'm knowledgeable about the situation, and since we have won the absolute majority in our parliament, the next prosecutor general will 100% be my person, my candidate, who will be approved by the parliament and will start as a new prosecutor in September. He or she will look into the situation specifically to the company you mentioned in this issue. This issue of the investigation of the case is actually the issue, making sure to restore the honesty, so we will take care of that. And I will work on the investigation of the case. On top of that, I would kindly ask you if you would have any additional information that you can provide us. It would be very helpful for the investigation to make sure we administer justice in our country with regards to the ambassador from Ukraine. As far as I recall, her name was Ivanovich. It was great that you were the first one who told me she was a bad ambassador, because I agree with you 100%. Her attitude towards me was far from best, and she admired the previous president. She was on his side. She would not accept me as a new president well enough.
Well, she's going to go through some things. I will have Mr. Giuliani give you a call. I'm also going to have Attorney General Barr call, and we will get to the bottom of it. I'm sure you'll figure it out. I heard the prosecutor was treated very badly, and he was a very fair prosecutor, so good luck with everything. Your economy is going to get better, and better and better, I predict. You have a lot of assets. It's a great country with great people. I have many Ukrainian friends. They're incredible people.
That's right. I would like to tell you also, I have quite a few Ukrainian friends that live in the United States. And I want to thank you for giving them all free apartments in Trump Tower in return for me investigating and prosecuting Joe Biden and his son. Actually, the last time I traveled to the United States, I stayed in New York near Central Park, and I stayed at the Trump Tower.
Wait a minute. You went off script here. He never said free apartments in Trump Tower in exchange for prosecuting Joe Biden and his son.
He didn't?
No.
I thought that was in there. I was
No.
just going through this. He didn't say that.
No, he didn't say that.
Well, isn't that what Nancy Pelosi is saying right now?
Well-
that he offered something to go after Joe?
Well,
I don't hear anything in here, so I'm trying to make good television out of this.
she's claiming, or apparently I don't know what again, it's a Mueller redux where, initially the claim
We're
was...
reading it word for word. I mean, I added in the words, like,
you added in
fool around a little bit. But I want to go through this more because, we're fooling around with it, Frankie, with the impersonations, as poor as mine may be. I don't know. It was a kind of a combination.
Yeah, it was more French than Russian.
It was kind of French and Scarface mixed.
But so I want folks to think about what's happening here, right? So here you have a situation where initially the claim was that there was a quid pro quo, that Trump was giving foreign aid in exchange for them investigating a political enemy. Now, you just heard, in spite of John's ad lib there, and though his mom's improvisation classes are finally paying off, you just heard that didn't happen. So now, this impeachment inquiry is centered not about a quid pro quo, foreign policy and foreign aid in exchange for prosecution. Now it's about cooperation with Congress. They're saying because they won't produce the whistleblower complaint, that's what's impeachable. These guys, they're going to try and impeach the president 20 years after he's out of office. It's really sad.
Impeach. There's an impeachment inquiry. No, not an official impeachment process. There's an inquiry. It's an II. It's an I squared. And all the congressmen are now going to run out of Washington to take a vacation for 2 weeks. We're not taking a vacation.